He won 511 games. No pitcher before or since has ever come close. Cy Young's name isn't just history, it's the very definition of pitching greatness. But when you picture a farm boy from rural Ohio hurling fastballs so hard they shattered fence boards, did you imagine that toughness could rewrite the rules of baseball forever? In a world of pampered stars and pitch counts, how did one man become the workhorse and set standards no one can reach, let alone break? This is how good Cy Young really was, and why the legend is bigger than the record book ever dared to admit. Denton True Young was born in 1867, the oldest of 5 children on a 54-acre farm in Gilmore, Ohio. His world was measured in acres, chores, and seasons, not innings or box scores. Every morning started before sunrise, with hands in cold water, shoulders bent under hay bales, and feet planted in fields that demanded as much from a boy as from a grown man. By the time Dent could read, he was already learning the rhythm of work, hauling feed, splitting wood, keeping pace with the relentless demands of farm life. School lasted only through the 6th grade. The farm needed bodies, not books. Strength came the hard way. He built his arm not with weights, but by pitching rocks at barn doors and hurling apples across the pasture. Legend says he practiced by aiming for fence posts and knotholes, drilling targets until the skin on his fingers split. Over time, his throws began to splinter the boards themselves. Neighbors started to talk about the young man with the arm like a storm. In those days, baseball was a break from the work, played on rough, uneven fields, with balls stitched together from scraps and bats carved out of old lumber. There was no coaching, no training plan, just repetition, and a drive to throw harder and more accurately than anyone else in the county. His size set him apart. By his late teens, Dent stood over 6 feet and weighed more than 200 pounds. A giant by the standards of the day. But it was his control, not just his power, that made local managers take notice. He could hit a target on a barn door from 60 feet away, over and over, long before he knew the distance would become the standard for all of baseball. When he finally stepped onto a proper diamond for a semi-pro tryout in Canton, his fastball tore chunks out of the wooden fence behind the catcher. The onlookers called it a cyclone, shortened to Cy, and the name stuck. That arm, forged by farm labor and sharpened by hours of barnside target practice, was about to change the game forever. Cy Young's arrival in Cleveland in 1890 wasn't just a fresh start for a raw farm boy. It was the beginning of a new standard for what a pitcher could be. He made his big league debut for the Spiders on August 6th, facing a Chicago lineup that expected an easy win. Young shut them down on 3 hits, winning 8-1, and didn't look back. Cleveland's manager, Gus Schmeltz, had found his ace, and the team quickly learned they could hand him the ball and count on 9 innings of work. The National League in the 1890s demanded more from pitchers than any era before or since. Teams carried only a handful of arms, and rotations barely existed. Young thrived on that grind. In his first full season, he started 44 games, finished 43 of them, and logged 423 innings, numbers that sound impossible today. By 1892, he was piling up 36 wins and a 1.93 ERA, leading the league in victories, shutouts, and innings pitched. He would go on to post 5 seasons with at least 30 wins, and he topped 400 innings 4 times in a 5-year span. The Spiders rode him like a workhorse, and he never broke down. Every time Young took the mound, he expected to finish what he started. Complete games weren't just a badge of honor, they were the job. He racked up 60 or more in a single season, and over his 9 years in Cleveland, he threw 297 complete games. That reliability made him the backbone of the Spiders, a franchise that climbed from the league's basement to a pennant contender on his arm. In 1895, he led Cleveland to the Temple Cup, the closest thing the league had to a championship, and delivered back-to-back shutouts to clinch the series. Young's reputation grew with each season. Hitters talked about the weight of his fastball, the way it seemed to jump at the last instant, and the relentless pace he set on the mound. He never wasted time, never let hitters settle in, and rarely issued free passes. Managers across the league envied Cleveland's good fortune. No one else had a pitcher who could take the ball every third day and give them a chance to win. By the end of the decade, Cy Young wasn't just the Spiders' ace. He was the gold standard for what a professional pitcher was supposed to be. In 1901, Cy Young made a move that sent shockwaves through the baseball world. He left the established National League and signed with the Boston Americans, joining the upstart American League just as it was fighting for legitimacy. It wasn't just a contract signing, it was a declaration that the new league could lure away the game's biggest stars. Young immediately became the face of the AL, drawing crowds who wanted to see if the old magic would translate to new competition. 2 years later, the stakes reached their peak. The first modern World Series pitted Boston against the Pittsburgh Pirates, a showdown that would decide more than a championship. Young took the mound for Boston in Game 1, facing a Pirates lineup stacked with hitters like Honus Wagner and Fred Clark. He lost that opener, but the series was far from over. Boston's faith in Young never wavered. He came back to pitch 2 complete game victories, including a crucial Game 5 win that swung momentum and packed the Huntington Avenue grounds with fans hungry for history. The Americans clawed back from a 3-1 deficit, with Young anchoring the staff and setting the tempo for the entire clubhouse. By the time Boston clinched the title, attendance had soared and the American League had proven it belonged. Cy Young didn't just win games, he validated a league. His presence on that mound in the glare of October turned a baseball experiment into a permanent institution. On May 5, 1904, Cy Young faced the Philadelphia Athletics and didn't allow a single man to reach base. 27 up, 27 down. A perfect game, the first of the modern era. But that afternoon was just the centerpiece of something even harder to believe. A stretch of 25 consecutive hitless innings. Over 4 games, from late April through mid-May, Young retired batter after batter without giving up a single knock. The streak started with 2 hitless frames to close out a loss, continued with 6 more in relief, then the 9-inning masterpiece, and finally another 6 before Sam Crawford finally broke through. This wasn't luck. Young's delivery was a model of efficiency. 3/4 sidearm, smooth and repeatable, built for endless innings. He worked fast, barely pausing between pitches, forcing hitters to match his rhythm or fall behind. Young threw strikes, always. For the 1904 season, he walked just 29 batters in 380 innings, a rate modern pitchers can only dream about. His command was legendary. He led the league in fewest walks per 9 innings 14 times, and in 1901 he walked only 37 across 371 innings. Young believed in getting ahead, changing speeds, and letting his fielders do their jobs. If trouble brewed, he'd add just enough extra heat to escape, but the plan never changed. Hit the mitt, keep the game moving, and trust that precision would outlast power. Young's craft was relentless, not flashy, a masterclass in control over chaos. Cy Young pitched more innings than any arm in history, 7,356 to be exact. That's more than double the career total of most Hall of Famers. He started 815 games and finished 749 of them, meaning almost every time he took the ball, he refused to hand it off. The modern game treats a complete game like a museum piece. Today's league leaders might manage 3 or 4 in a season. Young averaged more than 34 per year for over 2 decades. His 511 wins sit in a category by themselves, untouched and untouchable. Modern pitchers are carefully managed, pulled before pitch counts climb too high, their seasons mapped out for rest and recovery. Young threw until his uniform was soaked through on short rest in every kind of weather for teams that expected one man to carry the load. Every number in his ledger tells the same story. Nothing about his workload has been seen again. The Cy Young Award, first given in 1956, turned a man into a measuring stick. Each fall, baseball's best pitcher is handed a trophy that carries his name, reminding everyone that excellence on the mound still means chasing a standard set over a century ago. Walter Johnson threw harder and racked up more shutouts, but even he couldn't match Young's 511 wins or his 7,356 innings. Christy Mathewson brought style and polish, but Young's endurance kept him in the record books longer than anyone. Today's aces, Verlander, Kershaw, Scherzer, might match Young's skill for a season or 2, but never his workload. Pitch counts, 5-man rotations, and specialized bullpens have changed the job. In Young's day, the mound was a test of stamina and command. He pitched on rough fields with battered balls, traveling by train and playing through aches that would sideline most modern stars. The award is more than a trophy. It's a reminder that the bar he set was built for a different world, one where greatness was measured by how long you could last and how often you could deliver. Cy Young's 511 career wins, 7,356 innings pitched, and 749 complete games are records that remain unmatched more than a century later. This documentary traced how his strength, developed on Ohio farmland, became the foundation for an endurance and control that defined his two-decade career. We saw how Young's jump to the American League and his performances in the first World Series and the 1904 perfect game set new standards for what a pitcher could mean to his team and his sport. While the exact number of pitches he threw was never recorded, and some stories from his early years remain lost to time, the numbers that survive tell a clear story. Since 1956, the Cy Young Award has measured pitchers against his name, but no modern-era player, under current pitching norms, has approached his totals. Cy Young's career stands as a factual benchmark. In baseball, durable excellence is the ultimate achievement, and his records remain proof.